The collective state of the black community is not a strange occurrence. Keep people demoralized with lies, exhausted, distracted, and divided, and they won't organize or resist. Many will even accept or prefer their oppression. The system isn't broken, it's working as intended. The system of white supremacy now works like a well-oiled machine. It prevails by keeping black people clueless of how it actually works. Therefore, there's no black resistance. The system of white supremacy always works best when the black victims no longer recognizes how it works. A profound challenge that we now face is that the system has made the ignorant ones among us overconfident and have made the intelligent ones self-doubting. So the loudest voices are often the most misled, and the ones who could actually guide us are silenced or dismissed. And that's how the lies continue, how the exhaustion continue, how the confusion continues. It's how we stay too distracted and divided to come together. This is why those of us who knows the truth must teach African proverb. From the time black people were brought in chains to the U.S., the Bible was the most effective propaganda tool used for manipulating the collective minds of the black population to think in ways that serves and protects the interests of the white society. Many have been misled to believe that the early white Christians' conversion of Africans into their religion was to save the souls of Africans so that Africans may join them in heaven during the afterlife. But that's absolutely untrue, because the early white Christians literally believed that Africans had no souls, and they believed that heaven was for whites only. The true self-serving reason for the conversion was to instill the myth of a white God into the African minds. This makes Africans more submissive and more subservient towards whites. However, in 1968, in response to that decade's unprecedented unified black protests, white oppressive forces determined that it had become necessary to develop more psychological warfare tactics for controlling the black masses. More specifically, they determined that the African American culture needed to be fundamentally changed from what it was during the 1960s. White social engineering scientists determined that this change could be achieved by deploying an insidious ideological subversion system against the entire African American population. Ideological subversion is an elaborate, slow process used for brainwashing an entire generation of people. More specifically, it is an offensive psychological warfare tactic that uses disinformation and misinformation propaganda to manipulate a targeted population into thinking and behaving in ways that are against their own self-interest and instead in ways serving those who are deploying the ideological subversion system. This strategy uses misinformation, disinformation, and fraudulent propaganda to manipulate targeted populations into acting against their own self-interests while unknowingly advancing the goals of those in power. The effects are profound. Where we once called each other brothers and sisters, which had a unifying effect upon our collective state, many of us now calls ourselves by the N-word and the B-word, which actually have a negative and divisive effect upon our collective state. Where the 1960s saw us near unanimously agreeing that white oppressive forces were our worst enemies, many of us today insist that we are now our worst enemies. Where we once organized the most successful unified protests movement in U.S. history, we are now more divided than at any previous time in U.S. history. Our collective state has changed 180 degrees from what it was during the 1960s. These are not some strange occurrence. These are not coincidental. These are the deliberate result of a carefully deployed ideological subversion system that changed our collective mindsets in ways that benefits the system of white supremacy. It's always by deliberate design whenever the oppressed population changes in ways benefiting their oppressors. They change our mindset to such an extent that we're not able to come together in the interest of liberating ourselves. It was this ideological subversion system that was used to neutralize the Black Power movement. Unlike the more blatant Jim Crow era subjugation tactics that black people could easily recognize, identify, and then develop counter strategies against, this ideological subversion system is not easily comprehended, nor is it easily recognized by most of its black victims. It's in fact so sophisticated and so effective that it allows white oppressive forces to continue subjugating black people with impunity, while simultaneously manipulating the black masses to perceive ourselves as being our own worst enemies and to revere our evil oppressors. Through this ideological subversion system, the deep critical thinkers among us have become the misfits within our communities. We deep critical thinkers are now mocked and ridiculed by those who foolishly self-identify using the N-word, those who glorify pimps dressed like sagging clowns, and that insist that we're our worst enemies, those who get their morals from a book written by a group that has demonstrated no morals in their treatments of us, and by those that actually believes that a Bible brutally beaten into submission within the blood-soaked minds of our enslaved ancestors will now ridiculously set us free. These are idiotic beliefs that are believed by millions of us, and it was achieved through the white oppressor's monopoly over information that's fed into our minds. These beliefs and traditions are absurdly ridiculous, but they are practiced and believed by millions that have normalized them. Millions of our people have been brainwashed to think in ways that are against our own self-interest and that instead serves and protects the system of white supremacy. This is all possible because regardless of how intelligent people are, if it's possible to control the information they receive, it's entirely possible to control what they'll believe. Because the white oppressive forces control the information that the black population receives, they've weaponized this scenario against us by feeding us fraudulent propaganda campaigns that shapes our beliefs and mindset in ways that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. Because they've conditioned us to value being holy rather than being critical thinkers, we are therefore easy victims of their mental enslavement tactics. Brothers and sisters, it's time to wake up to our reality. There's a war being waged against us, and it's time to wake up to our reality. One love and peace.